All right, Nick, let's talk about the Oregon Ducks. Oregon, as we all know, heading into this college football playoff season, top dog. They're one of the best teams in the country. You're going to get that first round bye into the playoffs. All things, I'm assuming they're going to win their Big Ten championship game, move on, pretty succinctly to that first round bye. I think Oregon is in a really good spot, but to continue that hot streak going forward, Oregon has not only won on the field, they've won in the recruiting halls as well, getting yet another big time commitment to the squad. We're not even at National Signing Day yet. I think at the time of posting this video, we have just hit National Signing Day, so this was obviously the day prior to that. This is really nice for Oregon. Before we get into that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. And guys, I alluded to Oregon doing a lot of really great things on the field, but also doing some really great recruiting as well. Let's get on into the article when we talk more about it on the other side. This is from 24/7 Sports. It says, Oregon continues its hot streak in recruiting as it adds another piece to the 2025 class in 4-star linebacker Gavin Nix. Nix has been committed to Miami since July, but with National Signing Day coming in under 24 hours, he has flipped his commitment to Oregon. Nix, listed at 6 foot, 225 pounds, comes in as the number 231 prospect in top 247, number 24 linebacker prospect, and the number 26 prospect in the state of Florida. Being top 26, 25 in Florida, that's phenomenal because of so many players that come out of the state of Florida. Nick, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one, but before we get to you, Oregon fans, in the comment section below, for all intents and purposes, the regular season, other than, conference championships, going into the college football playoff, the regular season is over. So before we get into the hard part of the season, let us know who's been your MVP of this regular season. I think there's been a lot of really great additions, some, young guys stepping up, some guys that have been around for a while, but let us know who really stood out to you. Who is your MVP of this regular season thus far? Let us know in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about this latest move for Oregon?
It's absolutely phenomenal, especially when you consider timing and context, which you always have to do when it comes to any moves in the recruiting and the transfer game. This is a kid that's been committed to the Miami Hurricanes, like you mentioned in the report, I think since the summer, since like July. He's from Orlando. He went to an Orlando high school, Lake Highland Prep, before going to the IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. So he's a Florida guy through and through. And to go from Florida, where you have the Miami Hurricanes, of course, you got the Florida Gators, and not too far away, you got programs like the Georgia Bulldogs, maybe LSU, maybe Alabama, to go all the way West Coast, Eugene, Oregon. That's Dan Lanning winning the recruiting game at a national level. And that's what I love to see this time of year from top contenders. Every single year, there's always a team, not necessarily a surprise, but they kind of maybe overperform based on expectations, right? We expect to see Georgia competing for national titles. We expect to see an Ohio State compete for national titles, a Texas, the way they've played over the past few years. But Oregon's one of those programs that they dipped a little bit for a number of years there after the Kelly era, and now they're back on top, but we don't know how long are they going to sustain on top. And this move here by Dan Lanning is further evidence that what we've seen from this program is not just a short-term crazy good run. It is long-term sustained success, because success, long duration, happens in the recruiting game. Obviously, we know Oregon does a great job on the West Coast. They've embarrassed USC when it comes to recruiting the state of California. The Trojans usually are phenomenal, or historically have been phenomenal. Dan Lanning and his staff have obliterated the Trojans in that regard. They're doing a lot of great things in Big Ten country as well. Now they're winning at the national level. And I think this is a sign when people look at the Oregon Ducks and they see them as the #1 team in the country. No one's talking about that, by the way. I mean, I think we're always talking about how good is Texas? How good is Georgia, right? Can Ohio State bounce back? Indiana's a great story, right? We always hear about things like that, but the #1 team, unbeaten team in the country is the Oregon Ducks. And it's because of Dan Lanning. It's because of long-term strategic planning, paired with some short-term quality moves. And this latest pickup right here in terms of this commitment in the recruiting game is further proof of that. Lanning plays a long game, and it's worked out up to this point. It's why they're so good this year. It's why they were good last year. They're the favorite to win it all, as they should be. They're the most deep, experienced, talented team with national players all over on that roster. And again, we're seeing this trend continue right here with this recruiting move. Dan Lanning in Eugene, once again, phenomenal job.
Yeah, Nick, and you talk about where Oregon has recruited, and we're talking, you bring up Texas. They actually recruited the state of Texas pretty well, too. They got
Yeah.
one of the number one receiver out of the state of Texas, and to carry on more, doing a lot of great things there as well. Another really great corner in Dorian Brew as well. But just Oregon, like you said, they've done a lot of really good stuff. They've recruited the West Coast, their traditional powerhouse stomping ground state of California, Oregon, all those places. They've recruited the Midwest. They've done really great in all of those Ohio's and the Illinois and done great in those areas as well. But now they've also even come down and dominated SEC country, the untouchable areas. So you talk about the Floridas, the Georgias, the Texases of the world, where all of these players, it's SEC or bust most of the time when you're coming out of high school. That's the dream. But people are now considering Oregon. So I think, this is great for Oregon. I think we're showing, it's like you said, people don't acknowledge enough. This is the best team in the country right now. This is the Oregon Ducks. They're the premier team in all of college football. I think they're going to make a lot of noise going into the college football playoff season. People are going to be pretty surprised about how dangerous this Ducks team is. I don't think many people can stop them because right now, as we've seen, they're done a great job recruiting defensively with this latest commitment, but they've built something special. They now have a strong defense to pair with that historically great Oregon high-powered offense as well. So this is a team I'm excited to see going forward because once they start making noise in the college football playoff, I expect more and more big recruits to come their way as well.
Yeah, and just one final point to end on here. I think it's really important. The last time Oregon was this prominent nationally in the recruiting was during the Chip Kelly era. And people need to remember there was a couple, I don't want to say gimmicks, but it kind of was with those Oregon teams. They were the first team to have the crazy uniforms that got a lot of attention all over the media and things like that. They were also running one of the first super high-speed offenses, scoring 1,000,000 points, no huddle, blur offenses at the collegiate level, big-time collegiate level. So Oregon in those days, they were kind of not gimmicky, but they were different. They were unique. They were flashy, right? Kind of the way Colorado and Coach Prime is. Oregon was obviously better in those days, but that same kind of vibe. This Oregon Ducks team is different. They're methodical. They're deliberate. They go to work. They're businesslike, and I think that's what makes them, gives them the chance at long-term sustained success. And it's all due to Dan Lanning and his mentality and his leadership at the top of the program.